Right, what temperature is the water boil? Okay, we did this graph. This one, and this one, and this one. And we said, boil. Okay, and because we're dealing with water, we said, somebody said, one owner, that water boils at 100 degrees. I qualified by saying water boils at 100 degrees, but I lie a lot. Okay, now let's work out why I'm lying. Let me find the okay. Feel a little bit here. Okay, and we put our graph here. And okay, let's take the earth. There we go. Okay. Now over here you're playing on the seaside. You've gone down to Durban for holiday. Okay, you're going to boil water for coffee there. Okay, that water is going to boil at 100 degrees C. Not a problem. That's what we said. Not lying to you. Okay, but we live on the Witwatersrand, so it goes like there. Now here we are, cruise off. Okay, we off of sea level. Right, now the problem that we got, let's just change our colors here a little bit. The problem we got is here is the atmosphere. Okay, when you're at sea level here, you have got this atmosphere pushing down on you. This atmosphere is actually one bar. Okay, but if you put your gauge on here, you are going to read 0 psi. That is what we call gauge pressure. It's actually got one bar on our shoulders. Okay, be that it may. Okay, here in cruise off, we haven't got one bar. We've only got so much. Okay, whatever it might be. Because we got less pressure, it's going to boil at a lower temperature. So let's make it, for example, and I'm putting figures out of my head. Let's say it's going to boil at 98 degrees C. Again, I need to say it, figures out of my head. Boil. Okay, and now we say, yes, this is a bit long-winded for the conversation we're having here. What about if we go up, I just clean this away, we go up to Mount Everest being here, and we're going to nip up there, and we're going to stand here, and we're going to make ourselves some coffee. Okay, Mount Everest has only got so much pressure. Guess how warm the coffee going to be? Coffee going to be about 45 degrees. Okay. Why? Because we got so little pressure on it. I agree. It's bloody freezing up there. Okay, so the coffee going to feel like you burnt the water, but it boils at a much less temperature. So it depends on the pressure. Okay, so when it comes to our graph here again, here, there, and there, this 100 degrees depends on the pressure of your gas. In our case, our refrigerant is called water. Okay, but if we're dealing with something like 134, okay, it will boil at minus 23 degrees C. At ambient, at 1 bar ambient pressure. It's a standard, what's that? But when we're dealing with R600, at our test pressure. In other words, the basic, as if we're at sea level, that's this 1 bar. At our test pressure, this is only going to boil at minus 12 degrees C. And therein lies the problem. Because if you look at it, minus 12 is not going to give you your freezer temperature of minus 18 degrees C, which means that you have to lower the pressure here substantially. Bring that pressure way down to get it to boil there. This means you're going to be almost in a negative, or you are going to be in a negative, in fact. When you do commercial, I'll show it to you. You are going to be in a negative pressure to give you minus 18. Okay, let's talk about yesteryear. We're talking now about 1990. Okay. 1990, there was 3 gases. There were 3 gases. 22, I would say 12, 22, and 502. Okay. Then they decided somewhere there that we're screwing up the ozone layer. Okay. And they all blamed it on R12. So they took R12 off the market. And believe you me, 1990, the whole 90 series was a disaster. So they just pulled it off the market. Just discontinued. So fridge comes in, they need gas. You found that they need gas. You can't get 12. That means you're going to scrap the box. Or you're going to buy illegal gas. It was a disaster. Okay? So they took this off the market. And they kept 22. The problem is that this was a medium temp gas. This was a high temp. And this was a low temp. Okay, so what are we talking about? Medium temp is fridges. High temp is air conditioners. And low temp is freezers. So let's write that. Freezer. High temp is aircon. And medium temp is the fridge. Okay, now they took off R12. So R22 was great. Okay. 502 was a mixture. For want of this lecture, let's just say a 50 mixture of 22 and 22 and 12. Okay, a mixture of R12 and R22. Which means if you take off 12, you're also going to lose 502. Okay, and then came the drama because now you only had 22. And it's at the bottom. Okay? And all sorts of other gases came in. One of the gases that came in was R134A. Okay. Problem with 134A, R12 was nice and cheap. 134A was like 4 times the price, even 5 times the price. Mother expensive. Okay, now we're going to now convince everybody to use 134. Okay, and also you don't have a low temp gas. Then the gases started coming out. The gases just became longer and longer and longer, all the different types of gases. And you used to ride around with 4 or 5 different types of gases in your van. Luckily, we still had 22. Okay, so 134 came out, 22 was still there, and then you had a conglomeration of gases here. Okay, we're not going to go into all the gases. We will actually do all the gases when we go into commercial, beside the point. Okay, the point is that this is where it all started. Now the reason I'm bringing it up, the reason I'm discussing history, is because this gas is about to get taken off the market. Okay, so the gas, when they took away 12 and 22, then all of a sudden they started developing compressors to run 22. Okay, should have said when they took around 12 and 502. But they started to develop it, and a lot of fridges started to come out, not domestic, more commercial, started to come out with R22. They are now taking off R22 off the market. Hopefully they've learned from the lesson from them, where they just said you can no longer get the gas. Now what they're saying is you cannot buy a complete unit of 22. You can buy the compressor, you can buy the gas, but a complete unit you're not going to get. Remember that R22 was built for the air conditioners, designed for air cons. So up until about 7 years ago, you could get R22 air cons. And then from 7 years ago till about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you would be able to get what they call an R404 air con. Okay, but 404 is a real crappy gas. We're not going there. Okay. Now they're phasing out 404 and they're actually coming in for R410. Okay, got nothing to do with us. So what I'm saying is the gases are developing. Remember you said, what about that 610 or whatever the gas is? Actually 600, but that's beside the point. Okay, but the drama starts from here. And the drama starts also the expense of 134. Okay, firstly we spoke about water. And we said water boils at 100 degrees C. Depends on where you are. Hopefully you're down at the coast, but if you're on top of Everest, you're going to have cold coffee. Okay, we know that story, yeah? Okay, then they brought in 134. Okay, expensive. Okay, R134 boils at minus 23 degrees C. Okay, fine. What we used for many years. Now in about the 2005, more or less, they brought another gas out called R600. You know those little lighters? And there you go, you do the plastic ones. What gas is inside there? No idea.
White gas.
Butane. You see a correlation here? Butane, R600, boom. Light a cigarette quite well. And you put a torch on it and it goes boom. Shane, you understand me? Okay. Butane boiled at minus, I think it's 12 degrees C. Fridge is designed to run at 4 degrees. Okay. Let me tell you now, when you do commercial, I'll tell you that beer you actually want to take a little bit below 0. 4 degree beer is not really nice beer. Okay, not a problem because we've got minus 12 there. Okay, so a freezer was run at minus 18. Okay, but look here, butane is only boiling at minus 12. So now how can we get the freezer to work? Remember now, okay, it's domestic. Okay, that takes me a week to bring you up to speed on domestic refrigeration. Okay, here is our domestic unit. This is what is on any household fridge. This is your compressor. Okay, we're going to explain, we're going to teach you about the compressor. This is the unit that goes on the back of the fridge. We call this a condenser. Okay, we will go through it. This is the inside cold plate. What we call the correct name is evaporator. It's called a cold plate. It's the item that gets cold inside, generates your heat. We'll be going through this. The second week is going to be commercial. Here is a commercial unit. Okay, these commercial units is what you see in all the supermarkets, in all the factories, the bigger units. It's fridges, the freezers, the wall freezers, all of that. That is all commercial refrigeration. Similar system, but different concepts. Okay, here's the compressor. This one is a very, very old compressor, but these used to be the king of the compressors in the day. Okay, here again is the condenser. Okay, here we have a receiver tank. Here's the dryer, and over here is the evaporator. It's normally got a fan here that will draw your cold away. Here we teach you how to pump down, how to gas up, how to repair, how not to waste gas, how to do things properly. All the students want to do air conditioning. That being said, air conditioning module is right at the end of the commercial, and it's just an entertaining talk because you know already what it is. It's just telling you the ins and outs and the bewares and all the rest of it. Once you've done the commercial, you can do virtually anything. Back to our courses, refrigeration school. The first week, domestic. Second week, commercial. You can do the domestic course without doing the commercial. You can actually make a good living doing domestic fridges. You can make a good income any which way you want doing domestic fridges. But either one of these courses, you need the tools, etc. to do it. We prefer that you bring your own tools. Okay? It makes no sense to do a refrigeration school training course and not have the tools and not have the ability to go out and start earning money, start fixing fridges. If you can't afford it, because believe me, tools are expensive. Okay? If you can't afford it, we will hire you tools out. If you want to come on the course and get tools later, also not a problem. You can get them hired out to you.